So here we are trying to record this video about the Pittsburgh Regional Championships for like the 11th time, but something kept going wrong. But you know what? This is the one. Thank you guys for being here. Like I just said, we're going to be going over the Pittsburgh Regional Championships. So in honor of it being in Pittsburgh, the Steel City, and being won by the Steel type Gholdengo, I need you guys to answer the question of the day, which is, what is your favorite Steel type Pokemon of all time? So let's go ahead and get into the video. So we're going to be going over the day 1 usage stats as usual, the day 2 usage stats, and the cut usage stats. But before we get into any of that, I want to go over the winning team. The team was won by Chuppa Across the Fourth, his second regional championship ever. So congrats to Chuppa. Using a team of Basculegion, Mousehold, Dragonite, Incineroar, Ursaluna, Blood Moon, and Gholdengo. So the team has 6 common, very good Pokemon. However, there are 6 that I've not seen run together much. Correct me if I'm wrong if you guys have seen it a lot, but I have not seen it. Let me know in the comments below. And it has some interesting sets to it. So obviously stuff like Gholdengo's, which is where we're going to start, is very common, right? Terra Steel Make It Rain is a Gholdengo set that we've seen get run since like day 1, right? Of Scarlet and Violet. However, I haven't seen it run much with Mousehold specifically. Usually with Choice Specs Gholdengo, you're running some kind of speed control to go fast and hit hard. And usually with Mousehold Gholdengo, you're running setup because you have Friend Guard redirection and you get to click Nasty Plot. The reason that this works so well is because you instantly put on a ton of pressure offensively while also not being a step behind defensively, right on leads. So something I saw Chuppa do a few times watching the stream sets, he'll just lead Gholdengo Mousehold and make you have to respect it, right? And if you don't respect it, you get rolled over because the damage is so high. A lot of Gholdengos run defensive Terra types. Most of them are water, and we'll see that in the usage stats when we take a look. Most of them are water. So with that, you resist fire, you resist fire, you don't take much damage from ground as you normally would. You don't take the damage from knockoff, and you resist water as well. That plus Friend Guard makes setting up very, very easily. But in this set, it's Terra Steel. It's an offensive Terra type. You don't really get many defensive benefits other than dropping your ghost typing. But with Friend Guard on the board and with Incineroar on the team, it does help mitigate so much of the damage that you would take without having the defensive Terra type, that you can just kind of focus on your offenses. And probably not running any bulk. I'm assuming this is max speed special attack Gholdengo, which makes a lot of sense to me. So on top of that, you have things on the Mousehold like Super Fang and Feint, 2 moves that really support the Gholdengo a lot. How do they do that? So one of the ways to get around Choice Specs Gholdengo is to either protect both to see what it locks into, or you protect one slot, let the other slot take the hit, and then you end up dealing with the Gholdengo with a -1 special attack, and then you alternate that to deal with the -1 special attack, etc., right? You kind of lower its damage output so you can kind of survive. In this instance, you can't just click Feint easily. You can't just protect easily because it has Feint, and if you click protect and you get feinted, essentially you will have wasted your turn because you did no damage, you made no plays, and you took a ton of damage from Choice Specs Make It Rain. Probably got knocked out because most Pokemon get knocked out by that move. The other way to get around it is with bulky Pokemon that can resist, right? Assault Vest type Pokemon. The issue is Super Fang cuts your health in half instantly. So most Pokemon, no matter like how bulky they are, they can't take less than half from a turn 1 Choice Specs Terra Steel Make It Rain. I say turn 1 because that's when Gholdengo's at its strongest. It doesn't have any special attack drops, right? So most Pokemon, no matter how bulky they are going to take at least 50% from this hit, resisted or not. So it's very easy to pick up knockouts with a combination of Super Fang and Choice Specs Make It Rain. So the combo makes for a lot of sense because it covers a lot of things you may, like with setup sets, you lose out on some momentum and some damage immediately. And on Choice Spec sets, you lose out on some of the ceiling and some of the defensive backbone that you have. But this kind of combines the best of both worlds, and it makes things really, really interesting. Next thing I want to look at is the Basculegion. The Basculegion is one of these sets that's been popping up a lot recently, which is the Liquidation Last Respect Aquajet's Focus Sash Terra Ghost set. This, sometimes people run Terra Water on this, but Chuppa Toes Ghost. This set offers what I think is a lot more flexibility on a Basculegion, because most Basculegions, they're either running Choice Scarf on like a balanced team, or they are running Swift Swim on a rain team, right? So you can take advantage of either Swift Swim and get fast and use Choice Band for a lot of damage, or use Choice Scarf for adaptability for speed and damage, right? Most of them want speed and damage. This set allows for a couple of things. One, the Focus Sash means you can play more offensive with your Terra type, right? Because water, as much as it's an offensive Terra type, is also a defensive one, right? Because it's what blocks the sucker punches and dark type moves from destroying you, right? And the ghost type moves from just destroying you easily. With the Focus Sash, you can play a little bit more like fast and free with your Terra Ghost Lash Respects, because now you have adaptability plus Terra Ghost plus, 200, 250 base power Lash Respects. You get a lot of extra damage. You start hitting KOs that you may not have hit before. Because you have the Focus Sash, you can focus in on that, right? Additionally, Focus Sash allows you to, take hits and get off more damage. Sometimes with Master Legion, it does a lot of damage, but then it takes a lot of recoil, and then it takes a hit and it goes down, right? With this, you kind of get more flexibility to do more damage over the course of a game. Additionally, if you do miss KOs when you have the Focus Sash, you probably don't miss those KOs by much, because Master Legion is still very, very strong Pokemon. And then you can click Aqua Jet afters. Because you have the Sash and the Protect, it makes this Pokemon also a lot harder to target down, because a lot of times what people will do, they'll just target the slide down really hard with a super effective move and like a coverage move. But if it can protect, now you have to consider that as an option, right? You have to respect that. So I think this set is really good, and it gives you a lot of flexibility, and it's something I expect to pick up a ton of more. Something else, and I don't know if this is intentional, this is just a working theory that I have on this Master Legion, because it's not Choice Scarf or Swift Swim. It's still going to be max speed most likely, but it's not overly fast compared to the Swift Swim and Choice Scarf versions, right? So what this I think would allow for is sometimes what will happen, because the opposing team might be going first, maybe your teammate goes down, right? And your teammate goes down, you instantly get an extra 50 base power in your Lash Respect. So maybe it's at like 200 base power, whatever it is, or 150 base power. Yeah, because it starts at 50, 2 people go down, it goes up to 150, so 200 the max. Maybe it goes up to 150 or 200 because your partner went down on that same turn, and because you're not, super duper fast, you get that boost and you pick up a KO that you weren't meant to pick up before. So I don't know if that's by design, but I do think it's like an unintentional advantage of running that set. Dragonite is very standard. Terra Fairy, Scale Shot, the only attack, Haze, but I do think this team could struggle with Dondozo otherwise, so I think it makes sense for this team. The Blood Moon is mostly standard. The only difference is that it's Terra Fire instead of Terra Water, like a lot of the defensive ones are, or like Terra Fairy, or just Terra Normal for more damage. Terra Fire makes a lot of sense because basically everyone wants to make sure they're resisting Gholdengo in some way. And Terra Fire makes it so you resist Steel, same as Terra Water, except Terra Water is weak to Rillaboom, whereas Terra Fire resists Rillaboom, right? So you kind of still get to play against one of the top 3 most common Pokemon in the game, as well as dropping all your weaknesses to Sneasler as well, right? So I think Terra Fire is a very, very good versatile one. So is Terra Electric, but I think they're both very, very strong. But yeah, that's the team that Chuppa used to win a tournament. I think it's a team that you should be watching out for. People will pick this up. I might even try it out myself just to see how it feels. But let's go ahead and get into the usage stats. All right, so looking at the top usage for the entire tournament, we have Gholdengo at number 1. Not a surprise, but I definitely thought it would be Sneasler. But Gholdengo makes a lot of sense there too. I thought Sneasler and Insane would be 1 and 2, but Gholdengo being number 1 makes a lot of sense to me, and we'll go over why in a minute. Rillaboom in the top 5. Dragonite is a little bit surprising on top 5. I didn't think many people would be willing to gamble on Scale Shot D-Knight as much, but they are, because 90% of them are running Scale Shot. Blood Moon seeing uptick is not shocking. Number 6 is very high for it, but with it winning the previous regional over in the EU region, it makes sense that it ticked up. Most people are running the Assault Vest version, but as you can see, some people are running the Yawn version as well, and I don't expect that to fall off anytime soon. The Annihilate in top 7 is obviously expected because it's a very strong Pokemon right now. Annihilate used to be a mon that I said that it always had a lot of usage in practice, but like people didn't always want to bring it to tournament. But as you can see here, people are not doing the mouse hole stuff, right? Out of all of the Annihilates, 40% of them are safety goggles. So the safety goggles ones usually run like Rage, Fist, Protect, Close Combat, Final Gambit, or like Taunt or something like that. So do the Sash ones. You can see here 15 of them, about 8% ran Focus Sash. About 8% are running the coaching with Choice Scarf. Well, actually, a lot of them are running coaching, 15%, but 8 of them are running a Choice Scarf. Some obviously a lot of people are still running the Citrus Berry Lefties Mousehold beat up stuff. 27 and 12 is 39, so still a little bit less than safety goggles, right? Which that's something I did not expect to see. I thought that they would all be running beat up for the most part, and some would be running goggles taunt, but no, most of them are running goggles taunt. And that's why like Pengy brought Scyther to the Monterey, right? Because this safety goggle, he saw that this was picking up to be the most common set, and Scyther just destroys this one, right? Scyther beats the heck out of out of this Annihilate version. The other one could be a little bit tough, but the no friend guard one with no beat up, yeah, Scyther farms. Acheladon, Pelipper, Bastion Legion are the next three. Obviously it makes sense that they're all together because they're running with each other, right? You look at the most common teammate, 78% for Arch is Pelipper. For Pelipper, its most common 95% is Bastion Legion and Arch. And if you look at Bastion Legion, its most common teammates are Pelipper and Acheladon, right? So they kind of just are going to be together. Rounding out the top 12, Ursaluna and Ninetales. Ninetales seems to be the premier weather setter that isn't Pelipper right now. And Ursaluna seems to be the not premier bear compared to its sister. Anyone else feel like Ursaluna Blood Moon's the girl and Ursaluna's the boy? I don't know. Mousehold just outside the top 12, way far away from Annihilate, like I said. So obviously people are not trusting the beat up Rage for stuff as much as they normally do. Amoonguss outside the top 12, but still top 15, which is good for it. Remember what I said before, that Amoonguss right now is in a rough spot, just with everything kind of ignoring what it does, like Gholdengo, Goggles, Rillaboom, now Goggles Annihilate being so strong. Look at Arch here, we go down. Grass has fallen off a bit, but still 20% of Arches are Turret Grass. Pelipper is solid into it. Ursaluna, which is in the top 11, is immune to it. Ninetales has a good matchup into it, right? Mousehold also runs Goggles, I think, a lot. So Sash, Goggles, yeah. So like right now, it's just a really rough spot for it. But as you can see, top 15 is no slouch, right? Because people still know that Amoonguss is still good. And you can still matchup check people who are not running those other things that block Amoonguss. So I don't think you can just ignore it completely. T-Tar is doing pretty well right now, rounding out the top 16. And Gambit's still getting some play, right? I thought Gambit might fall off it, but it's still getting some play. So why is Gholdengo like so high usage right now? And why is his win rate so high, right? 51%. And then on the next page, you'll see its advance rate, which is something Mousehold has added, Lab Mouse has added now. Realistically, so like Gholdengo, it's so good because if you look at the other Pokemon in the top 5, for example, right? Dragonite can never beat Gholdengo with Scale Shot, realistically, not in like a 1v1 sense. Rillaboom really struggles against it. High horsepower is like cool, but it's not enough. Realistic, especially because Gholdengo can like set up on it very, very easily, outspeed it and just kind of KO it. While you're trying to hit it with like Earth Power, not Earth Power, high horsepower, stuff like that. Incineroar obviously has the best matchup into it. But Sneasler can't really touch it either. Even if you look like the first 3 moves, the first 2 moves, its basic stats can't touch Gholdengo at all. Throw Chop is on like 40% of them, because the reason being is because they know they have to hit Gholdengo, and like it doesn't even kill Gholdengo anyway, right? So it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Gholdengo has the advantage in that matchup. Ursaluna Blood Moon can be a bit tough, especially because of the Assault Vest ones. But realistically, depending on like most team comps, like Gholdengo still kind of has the advantage because it's faster, and this thing Spindef just isn't made to take hits, which is why people are using Assault Vest. But Gholdengo will KO this thing really quickly if it gets set up, or if it gets like, if it doesn't have AV and a defensive Terra, it'll just blow through this thing. The Annihilates with beat up Rage Fist are really hard for Gholdengo, but the Goggles Rage Fist without any stacking move is really easy for Gholdengo. Arch doesn't want to take Spec Shadow Ball or +2 Life Orb Shadow Ball at all. Neither does Bastion Legion. If you see the Gholdengo, even though Terra Steel won the tournament, its most common Terra type is still water. So you still resist those wave crashes, right? And you take a lot of recoil, and you take a Shadow Ball, and you just kind of drop. Ursaluna, I think, has a good matchup with Gholdengo for the most part, but on the teams that Ursaluna is on, Gholdengo tends to be able to set up on these teams before Ursaluna can get activated, which makes it a lot harder. And then Ninetales just folds. Mousehold can't do anything to it. Volcarona obviously is solid, but Gholdengo teams tend to account for that. If you go up here, right, like the Gholdengo teams will have stuff like Dragonite on them, right? If you look at day 1, the most common composition was this 6, so they'll have the D-Knight on there, and D-Knight will hit those Volcaronas really hard for you. Mousehold and Annihilate will hit them really hard. And if the Terra Fairy, you just get Make It Rain, right? Because a lot of things are Terra Fairy right now in the format, and then Make It Rain just kind of, because they want to like block Skill Shot, they want to block Close Combat, but then Gholdengo just kind of farms that, right? So Terra Fairy seemed to be like the most common Terra, I want to say. off the top of my head. Let me see if that shows. Okay, boom, we have it over here. So Fairy's the 4th most common Terra, Ghost being the most common. But the most reason that Ghost the most common is because if you look at like Sneasler likes to run some Terra Ghost, like 18%. Incineroar also likes to run a lot of Terra Ghosts. 60% of Incineroar is Terra Ghost, right? It's 166 Terra Ghosts right there. So like it kind of makes sense. I bet you Blood Moon has some Terra Ghosts as well. Let's take a look. Yeah, like 11% of them are Terra Ghosts. So like Terra Ghost is going to be the most common. Water and Fire. Fire, I'm surprised, is actually higher than Fairy, but Fairy's in the top 4, right? So there's enough Fairy typing in the game that Make It Rain is just so valuable. If we go over, actually, no, before we go over, let's look at the moves that it's running. Most of them are still running Life Orb, but Choice Specs is the 2nd most common. People are running Medical if they don't want the recoil. Choice Scarf and Grassy Seed are still around in decent numbers, I would say. Lefties, so people are actually dropping lefties in Citrus, the healing, mostly for offense, right? Life Orb, Choice Specs, Medical, or Speed, or like natural bulk plus natural like terrain healing. So I do want to see if these items make a comeback at all. Obviously the 4 top moves are always going to be the 4 top moves, with Trick and Power Trick and Thunderbolt being right behind on the Choice Spec sets. Then we go over to day 2. As you see here, so Gholdengo is still number 1. The top 5 is unchanged. Oh no, top 5 is changed. Who dropped? Dragonite was 5, Rillaboom, Sneasler, Gholdengo. Oh, Rillaboom got replaced. Even though its arena rate is higher, it got replaced by Blursa. But most of the mons you see, right? Most of the mons didn't change much, right? Like T-Tar moved up a little bit. Ursaluna kind of stayed, actually went down a spot. So yeah, most of these mons are kind of the same. Kingambit had a little bit of an uptick. Moongus dropped down a few spots, not unsuspected. The redirectors are not doing that great by comparison. Actually, let's go to the advanced rate. So the advanced rate is basically your day 1 appearances divided, no, your day 2 appearances divided by your day 1 appearances to show what percentage of the day 1s made it to day 2. So 16% of all Gholdengos made it to day 2, which is a really big number, right? If you go here, this is actually not a good way to do it because it just goes by what you call it. It just goes by the percentage, no, regardless of appearances. So I would say that like above 10% is probably good. Below that is probably not great. And then I think maybe 15 to 20 is like Goldilocks zone, right? So that means that Gholdengo, Incin, Dragonite, Blursa, Goldilocks zone Pokemon, right? Annihilate, Goldilocks zone. Arch kind of right there. Basket Legion, really good. Pelly, good. Ninetales, really good right now. So like I think this is something that Night just added, I want to say, because don't think I've seen it before. So it gives you an idea of like, hey, this is really good into the stuff that comes on day 1 right now, right? Which is what? Rain mostly, right? It helps in the rain matchup. T-Tar also really good. Why? Probably because of rain. And DD male is probably being carried by Sneasler. Even though Sneasler's advance rate is lower, there's because the Sneasler on more teams than DD male is as well. And every team that has in Sneasler also has it. Every team that has a DD male has Sneasler, but not every team that has Sneasler has a DD male. So yeah, 13% of them made it to day 2, 15, 16, 12. So I think this is a really good way to see what's doing well into day 1 of tournaments. This doesn't mean it's going to be what wins you the tournament, but like, so you look at like Tatsugiri and Dozo. Not a lot of people brought them, but the people who did had success, right? And the reason that's being is because when Dozo usage is low, like it is, they tend to do a little bit better because people aren't covering for them as hard. So that's why you can see like these numbers being really high. Like, this is like beyond Goldilocks zone. So I think you should watch out for Dozo in the next tournament. I'm glad I stumbled across this so I could warn people because we're not dealing with that in 2025. Kilowattrel, another sleeper pick. Obviously these are low sample sizes, but I think going deep into the list gives you a good idea of things that people may not be covering for, right? Because this means like about 20 people brought Kilowattrel and 5 of them made it to day 2, right? So that makes a lot. That's really, really good for it. So what is it about Kilowattrel that people are not covering for that is making it have success? So I think that's something to look out for. And then lastly, we look at the cut. Look at the top placement for these 3. They all won the tournament in Gholdengo, Dragonite. Rillaboom while it had a number of appearances in cut being on over half the team, because cut is 15 teams. Also, just for the record, 107 teams made day 2. Cut is 15 different teams, and Rillaboom was on over half of them, but it also struggled to get a top 4 finish. It got top 8, right? But it struggled to get a top 4 finish, even though it was over half the field. So that's something to look out for. Rillaboom, obviously still a very good Pokemon. Basculegion really jumped up. It went and won the tournament. It had 6 appearances in cut, even though that's like more than Arch and more than Pelly, right? So like maybe the solo Basque is a little bit more versatile than the rain teams right now. That's something you can look at in your building and in your prep for your next tournament, which is Milwaukee. So look at why Basculegion is having such success. Can you look and remember on the previous page, its highest teammates were Archaludon and Pelipper. But now, obviously Pelipper's second, but look, it's tied with Gholdengo, which is also tied with Arch, and Incident's his biggest partner. So maybe the Basculegion balanced teams are a little bit better than the Basculegion rain teams right now, is what I would interpret this data as saying, right? Because, and if you look at the items, Focus Sash was just as good as Band and Scarf. Scarf tends to be on the balanced team, and so does Sash, right? So overall, the balanced ones are better than the Choice Band ones right now, at least based on the top cut performances. So again, I think that's something that is worth looking at for most people. Sneasel's advance rate was only a 2 from day 2 into top cut. So I think that is because Gholdengo and Sin makes his life very, very difficult. It obviously finished top 5, so had a top 8 appearance as well. But that's something to look out for. Don't just stop covering for Sneasler. But if you're someone who's building a team, you need to look and see why Sneasler did not have the conversion from day 2 to cut in the way that like Gholdengo at 3, Instant at 3, a little 2.5, and it won the tournament over 3, Dragonite 3%, etc. As well as having a worse finish than all of them, not even making finals essentially. So I like the way this data is put out. Let me know in the comments below what information you would like me to cover in the future when I'm looking at these lists. Is anything specific? Did you guys notice anything that I did not notice at all? Let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, actually, no, I'm not gonna end the video here. There's something else I want to do. So the coverage is done, but I want to spotlight some of my Hive buddies. Darius Helmick, he got top 16. Shout out to him. I think that's your best finish, so shout out to Darius. He ran Rain, Terrifying Arch. He was doing really well. 1 win away from cut, as you can see here, right? He was the highest placing person to not make top cut. So that's still awesome. So shout out to Darius. Paul Chua, shout out to Paul. Finished in the top 32, 20th place, also with a rain team. So shout out to Paul. I want to highlight who else made it. Let me actually look for their names. Where's my control find? Alphonse, who made it to day 2. Obviously, you know, day 2 didn't go exactly how you wanted, buddy, but you made it to day 2 after not making it for a bit. And you said that you changed up your preparation style and stuff like that. So I'm really, really proud of you for doing all that, brother. Shout out to Alphonse. And no, that's not the guy I want. Not the person either. There we go. Jonathan Lin made it to day 2 as well. Finished 7-5. He finished in the top 128. Shout out to John Lin. I was telling you, you as well as our buddy Joe Kwan. He is you guys are terrible practice players, but awesome tournament players. You guys are stepping up big time, having really good results. I think he was the highest placing Gliscor of the group of the guys who ran Gliscor. And I think maybe the highest placing Gliscor in the tournament. You know what? Can we look that up? Maybe we can look that up. Hold on. Let's scroll to the top. Let's get rid of this. Jonathan Lin. Oh, Austin Lee. There we go. Boom. I knew I was forgetting somebody. Shout out to Austin as well. So they tied for the highest. No, not tied for highest placing because they had the same record, but John had better resistance, so he was 10 places higher. So John was the highest placing Gliscor, and shout out to Austin, who also made day 2 with the squad. The second highest placing Gliscor in the whole tournament. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to the Hive. Awesome group of people. Awesome group of players. But that's all I got for you guys. Thank you guys for being here. Click like for your boy. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.